Hi, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about capturing leads. We spend a ton of money on marketing, and yet a not so insignificant number of our prospects are slipping through our fingers before we can move them to the next phase in the leasing process. So, this series is all about assessing what challenges on site teams are facing and then talking with different property management companies to discuss how are they tackling those challenges. So today I'm talking with Mark Ainley, partner at GC Realty and Development, and we're going to talk about how they are capturing those leads before they slip through their fingers. Thank you for joining me, Mark. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm always down to talk business with other people. So especially when around real estate and leasing and marketing.
That's great. Love it. So, Mark, did you have a sense for how many prospects you were losing by not converting them into a tour, or did you just know it was a big number?
I knew it was a big number. In these days, everything is all about customer experience, and that was probably the other part of it. Losing opportunity and then providing a crappy experience was some of the things that we were seeing to be problems in our operation.
So, what was the biggest roadblock you think in converting those prospects into tours?
Well, I think it just comes down to overall flow whether it be a good market or back when we signed up, it was we had good properties, rehab properties, and those type of properties can attract, maybe hundreds of people in a few day span, and you just don't have the manpower to take all those calls in a timely basis or be able to even get back to all of them. So you're missing out on gosh knows how many qualified leads.
Yeah, so you spent all this money on acquiring those leads, and they kind of just slipped through your fingers.
Yep.
So what did you do to actually close that gap in the leasing funnel process?
So as far as closing that gap goes, the kind of buzzword, I don't know if it's a buzzword or it's just how business is done these days, it's just the automation piece. If you find a way to automate the things and kind of make a smooth transition from the entry point into, call it the top of the funnel, to where the customer also want to be and you want them to be, which is at the bottom of the funnel, filling out an application. It's just automating those steps in between.
Yeah, because here's so many times where leasing consultants they get busy, they don't get back to everybody right away, and those people then move on. You can't get them back sometimes. And so, yeah, so automating, that's what we're hearing all across the board, is how do we keep that process moving when somebody cannot get to them right away? So can you tell me, what did you implement to automate that process?
Yeah, so we implemented Show Mojo to capture all these leads and kind of be the go-between between the marketing you might find online and us being the showing agent that we're going to take you on a tour for. So implementing that was a big step for us.
How did they actually automate that? What was the process? So let's say a prospect comes in there and they found you in some way. What does Show Mojo then do to automate that process?
Well, here, let's break down what when you're not using something like a system like Mojo does. The problem you run into these days is someone goes onto one of the top 5 or 10 internet websites, and they see the property they like. Maybe they looked at your 20 pictures and they read your beautifully written description, and they go to schedule a showing or typically request more information. You basically fill out your information and they just gotta wait, and that's not the world we live in these days. Those people, for us, we were starting to have people be impatient, or if we never got back to them, maybe even we captured a couple of bad reviews on there saying, I inquired and never got back to them. That looks horrible online for people prospectively looking for a property management company. But what we were able to do with that is, instead of it just kind of going to an inbox and waiting for someone to reply, it takes you to the next step. And for us, it says, would you like to see this property? And it offers times that they could see the property. There's selected times that we know we're going to be showing that property. And we have a system set up that we kind of follow per property based on how many times we're going to show, how long the showings are going to be. And then we have some pre-screening questions. So think about this: the 5 or 6 questions, whether it be a self-managing landlord, a property manager, or whatnot, you ask those same 5 to 7 questions, or you try to get the answer for those same 5 to 7 questions, no matter what, no matter who calls, what property, and those are questions that we're able to build out in ShowMojo and get those answers for. And if there are answers, there's some automatic disqualifiers there too. So, just as an example, I think one of our questions is along the lines of, have you ever been forcible detainer or been filed for eviction on, is basically what the question asks. And if they say yes, we won't let them set up the showing then at that point, because that would be something that we're not looking to work with on our owner. And there's different ways and different things that you can set up in your settings to have these qualifying questions. So they might answer all these questions one way, but they don't know they're not allowed to set up a showing based on one answer. So it's pretty cool how you could set up the flow of if you don't want to allow someone to view the property.
A lot of people right now, they're ready to move forward. They've already gotten their information. They've done all their research, and they don't want to wait anymore. And so you're just providing them a streamlined experience to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and set up my appointment. And then you're also pre-qualifying in the same process so that you're weeding out some of the stuff that's going to waste your all's time at the same time, it sounds like.
Yeah. So one of those questions is, I just thought about when you were just talking is, are you prepared to sign a lease in the next 7 days and move into the next 30 days? Because nothing is worse. I mean, an amateur real estate agent, or just early on in my career, is you show up and they're like, yeah, it's August, and they're like, yeah, no, my lease ends I think December or January. I'm just looking to see what this neighborhood's like. It's like, oh my gosh, I just drove all the way across town. So those different qualifiers that automate it, where you can't have the human error of forgetting to ask that question, is a big thing too. Automation helps us on our side too make sure that we ask the same questions every single time, and that includes for fair housing reasons too. So there's risk mitigation, I guess, when you ask the same question to everybody across the board at the same time as well too. So you can never get accused for not being fair, unless one of your questions is wrong. But that's a whole different problem that you got to make sure you're not doing.
I love that. I hadn't thought about that before. So let's dig into how it's actually affected, operations and profitability. Because fundamentally, when people watching this video, they want to know at the end of the day, how did it affect your company? And as much as you're willing to share, I'd love to hear about that. For example, did you track your conversion rate before and after you started working with ShowMojo, and what did that look like?
I'd be lying if I told you we were tracking the true 100% conversion rate based on that, because we didn't have the physical ability to have those metrics before we had something like Mojo. So I guess we went from, call it hectic metric, to this is a lot easier and we can actually measure it standard. So I think for us, what it ends up doing is takes a lot of chaos out of the process. And so how I was actually introduced to the product was, we had some leasing agents that were running, doing this, and they couldn't keep up, and they actually found the solution for me. And I saw it and I said, oh my gosh, like this is great. And I signed up right away. And it just makes that getting to the finish line smoother. If I put a listing, if I go to bed tonight, and say I'm working in my office before I go to bed, I put something on the market. Now I have that call it turnkey set up to get people in seeing this place tomorrow afternoon without me ever having to touch anything, or maybe it's 2 days from now. But I think a lot of what entrepreneurs need to leverage is these type of automations that help things continue to go on without having to be awake, to be physically on a call, on the other end of an email or whatnot.
Now, are you all using self-guided tours in this process as well, in the automation process?
Yeah. So if you're referencing the self-showing tours, that we can put the lockbox out there, the secure lockbox, and they are able to access the property through the codes that we're able to pre-screen them and get them access to. So yes, in certain areas of Chicago, we are using those, and those, again, that's even one more step further, where the people that want everything now, that Saturday afternoon, you're with your family, and the lead comes in at 3, and they've been out showing all day, and they finally saw your place online, or it popped up in their news feed. It's like, I want to see this today, like before we go sign our lease. Now, with the self-showing lockboxes for us, we're able to, it could all happen while I'm at my son's or my nephew's birthday party, and not have to have that human touch to it.
Self-show is absolutely huge. You know, we've had a lot of discussions of what's going to, revert to, I guess, the old normal, before the pandemic and what's going to continue on. And self-show was even before the pandemic, it was gaining traction. And now it's just become, giving prospects different avenues to, for their leasing experience is so important now. I love it. And I love what you said about how it was your team who identified their own pain points and brought it to you. I love that. I think a lot of companies could learn from that as far as how they listen to their ground troops and what struggles that they're dealing with, and what are some solutions to help them out. Absolutely love that.
Well, one of our core values is better results. So anytime we can figure out these pain points and put something in place or change something, it's huge for us as a company growing.
Absolutely. So it sounds like the major benefit that you could at least tangibly measure or feel was the improved operations aspect, that your teams were able to manage all the leasing flow better. And then I'm sure at some point you understand, there's going to be some financial aspect too that kind of rolls over into better conversions and that sort of thing as well, right?
Yeah. So one probably number or metric that I could share that I at least have an idea of where we're at is the traffic that was coming in on the phones. So I believe at the time before we signed up, about 50% of our calls coming through were around setting up showings, learning more information about a property. And that number went down to, I think it was in the low teens, because we're able to utilize ShowMojo's, there's a couple different solutions they have on there as far as live answering or just kind of going through a ShowMojo phone tree that kind of helps you set everything up without, again, having someone on the other end. So the phone traffic coming in was a big one for us, because twofold. The ones that we were actually live answering in the office, all of the calls for rentals was taking away from other calls that were coming in. Maybe someone was looking to hire us. Maybe someone that was looking to buy a house on their broker side of things. So it was kind of clogging up the phones, I guess, and taking that large chunk of calls out of the system, allowing then the people that are in the office answering the calls was able to focus on other incoming calls versus explaining amenities or setting up a showing for somebody.
That's fantastic. Well, Mark, I appreciate you taking some time with me to talk about leasing and the whole trend towards leasing automation. Again, thank you for joining us. And everybody, we're going to have more of these sessions coming up as we dig into different challenges that our communities are facing and how different companies are attacking those challenges. So stick with us for next time, and we will see you soon. Thanks, everybody.